Welcome guys, welcome to the Ferris for Fitness MyoBrain YouTube page. In this video I wanted to discuss kind of some basic things of warming up for strength training. Still, I see, especially when I go to commercial gyms and stuff, it's horrendous with the way people warm up for their lifts, and even some moderately strong people that I know I think could be leaving a lot of weight and performance on the table if they were to warm up more intelligently. Now let me kind of preface this and say none of this is going to be black and white, and I'll mention that dozens of times probably throughout these few videos, that you do need to kind of experiment, and I'll just kind of talk about that as it goes. Again, the reason why I'm making this is because, especially on YouTube, I haven't seen really anyone else really put the concepts into play. At least two really popular warm-up routines are the DeFranco Limber 11, which I really like, and then I know everyone on YouTube follows Matt Ogus. He has a couple of warm-up videos. They're a good place to start, especially the Limber 11, I think, and DeFranco has an upper body one too, like for shoulders. Those are good places to start, but understand, especially like with Matt Ogus, that is tailored towards what he has found helps him with those lifts. So maybe start with some of that stuff, but then you need to venture off into doing your own kind of thing for your own kind of lifts, the way you train your restrictions. So don't just copy someone else's mobility routine or warm-up routine, whatever you want to call it. DeFranco's, if you're going to copy something, probably a little bit better, because he's actually a trainer, so he kind of makes a general recommendation for a lot of the stuff. He even says, like, on most people the piriformis is tight, or on most people they can have some anterior hip issues or something like that. So start with something like that. But again, if you understand the concepts, which are more important than just doing someone's exercises and not understanding why they're doing them, if you understand the concepts, you can create your own workout to perform the best that you can. So I kind of have I wrote down some stuff on some whiteboards that hopefully you guys can see. These are kind of my smaller ones. I think you guys should be able to see this. So really, this is the primary goals of any kind of warm-up routine. So again, understanding these concepts. Maybe you're doing this in your warm-up and you really don't even know it yet. But if you understand these concepts, it will go a long way. So these aren't really in any order of importance, and this isn't an exhausting list. It's kind of like really basic stuff, and I'll explain it kind of the best that I can with limited time. So again, not number one, but I would say really important is to increase your body temperature and also kind of increase the blood flow and temperature of a lot of your tissues. Obviously, that's going to help with decreasing your injury. A more mobile tissue, a warmer tissue, especially like your body temperature, is going to help prevent help prevent injury. And obviously, it's going to increase your range of motion too. ROM, R-O-M, stands for range of motion. A warmer tissue is probably going to be more pliable. That's also going to help with injury, like I said. So your range of motion and your injury are kind of tied together there. And we'll talk about in the next kind of whiteboard that I have how we accomplish these goals. The second one is just kind of some basic technique work. Again, this is why I don't recommend people just go in the gym and start slapping on 45s and start going to town with other lift they're doing. Ramp up the nervous system. Again, these all things kind of like work together, but again, the nervous system tends to ramp up, especially when you're actually talking about putting weight on the bar when you're going for like a big lift, like a heavy triple or something. It's not advantageous just to go there or maybe even do like 1 or 2 warm-up sets. You need to be breaking a sweat. You need to be doing these things to ramp up your nervous system to get you prepared for that heavy kind of set. And last one, connective tissue restrictions. So again, this is most people would call like why you do foam rolling and mobility work, and we'll talk about that. But these are the 4 primary things that I think most people need to be concerned with in their warm-up routine. And now let's kind of talk about some the parts of the warm-up that I think can address those primary goals and primary issues for most people. So here we have kind of parts of the warm-up, and again, in no really particular order. For me, this is kind of how I would start with order, but again, this is not going to be black and white, and I'll kind of talk to you guys about that in a little bit. But foam rolling, again, I have an asterisk by that. The primary goal that's really going to take care of is connective tissue issues. Again, I would say a general place to start there is like 5 or 10 minutes. But again, I've had some people that don't need foam rolling, and I have some people that really need it and really benefit from it. the research on foam rolling, especially how it works. If anyone tells you they know how it works, they're probably lying to you. The research is kind of hit and miss right now. But again, not every single little thing you do needs to be backed by research. Even if it's psychological, if you feel that foam rolling has helped you, doing 5 to 10 minutes on it before you train is probably a good idea. I have it first because, again, I have this aerobic component here. You can flip-flop these and, again, play around with doing some aerobic stuff before you foam roll or foam roll before. But, again, I just kind of felt like if I have anything really, really gunky, really, really tight connective tissues, which I usually do, that helps me with my aerobic component. If not, when I do the kind of aerobic stuff, I still feel a little tight, if that makes sense. So getting some connective tissue loose, and again, this will even help with some body temperature and blood flow a little bit, can help the aerobic component. Again, I'm not going to give out like a complete foam rolling routine, but you can look those up. I know Eric Cressy has a really general one, probably takes about 5 or 10 minutes. I would check out that one. But again, don't spend your time foam rolling things that don't need to be foam rolled. So don't spend 30 minutes foam rolling your calves and your IT band and your abductors and stuff if that has never caused you an issue. I love what Kelly Starrett talks about of test and retest. If you find that foam rolling your IT band decreases pain, helps you get more range of motion, continue to do that. If you find that foam rolling or that stretch or whatever doesn't do anything, then don't do it. It's kind of that simple. The second component, I would say an aerobic component. I kind of have that tied into dynamic stretching. That's going to take care of the goals of increasing body temperature. The CT, again, kind of talks about blood flow, the connective tissues, and ramping up the nervous system as well. So the reason why I kind of have the aerobic component tied in with the dynamic stretching, I like to kind of do those together. I have a track background. I like to do a lot of like high knees and skips. I'll even do like some 10 and 20 yard sprints, some walking lunges like Spider-Man lunges, reverse lunges, walking on your toes, walking on your heels. If you've been a track athlete, you kind of know that general dynamic warm-up. I'm a big fan of that because it's not, it's less time consuming. It's kind of like knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. And I feel like that's a little bit better as far as warming everything up, like the hips and the ankles, than just doing like a 5-minute walk on a treadmill. Now, if you're not versed in a lot of those things and you're not comfortable with that, you definitely can just do some really, really light aerobic work. Giving it time is kind of iffy because I don't want to say that 5 minutes is good or 10 minutes is good or 7 minutes is good. You should just feel kind of warm. It's kind of something that you need to get accustomed to how it feels. Get kind of warm, maybe break a little bit of sweat. So again, this is variable even on the season, on the person. Probably the better shape you're in, the more you're going to have to warm up. The worse kind of aerobic shape at least you're in, the less you're going to have to warm up. You're going to get warm quicker, obviously. Even with the seasons, when it's 90 degrees outside, even in the gym, it's maybe not that hot. Your body tends to be a little bit warmer. It's easier to warm up. And then in the winter, I tend to have to do a little bit more aerobic work to get to ramp everything up. So the aerobic component be something simple as 5 minutes or, like I said, on elliptical, treadmill. The important thing is just don't overdo it. You don't want this to affect your workout. Again, the primary goal of warm-up is just to kind of prepare your body for the real work. So just kind of get a light sweat going. That's a good recommendation. The dynamic stretching, kind of for stretching, I broke it up into dynamic and static. Again, I like the word active mobility because mobility can be, sitting in the couch stretch for 2 minutes, or mobility can be doing like a hip drill where you're kind of constantly moving, or you're like contract and relax for 5 seconds. So I like the term active mobility for a dynamic stretch. And then static stuff, again, I would say is going to increase your range of motion a little bit more. Your range of motion is obviously going to be increased with a dynamic stretch as well, but sitting in something, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, sitting in something for a long period of time is probably just going to do with range of motion. So I think most people need to do, or pretty much everyone needs to do it, an aerobic/dynamic type of warm-up. But not everyone needs to do static stretching, just like not everyone needs to do foam rolling. So again, if you find that your thoracic is so rounded in a deadlift like 135, it may be smart to do some static stretching. Try to keep it below about 45 seconds. Research is pretty clear, I would say, that power and strength starts to decrease greater than 45 seconds. But again, that is on an average. So if I took 100 people, it would probably decrease around 50 of their strength performance. And if probably 50 people, it wouldn't. It may slightly increase it or just slightly decrease it. So it really in a level that you really couldn't tell in a research study at least. So again, play with the static stretching. If you have some restrictions, if you're warming up for some good examples, or if you're warming up in a squat and your heels are coming off the ground, your ankles are probably really tight, bust out a minute or two, simple ankle stretches there. If you can't reach depth on a squat, try to get some hip mobility stuff. Again, you can just play around with dynamic and static stuff to see how it works. But again, if you're doing fine with the movements, I would say stay away from static stretching if you don't need it. Just like foam rolling, if you don't need the foam rolling, there's really no point in doing it. But I feel like everyone can benefit from a dynamic slash aerobic component to a workout. And then lastly, talk about this a little bit in the second part of the video. Just try to introduce it. The first lift, again, technique work and also nervous system. I'll go in a little bit more detail with how I think you should ramp stuff up. But to kind of summarize it, again, what I wanted to make important is that there's not a given, you shouldn't be doing this exercise or that exercise or walking on a treadmill or doing an elliptical. Understand these kind of concepts and the primary goals of a warm-up, and that will take it a long way. So in part 2 of this video, should be rather short. I'm just going to talk about, okay, this is the stuff that you're going to be doing from the second you walk into the place you're training at, even if in your basement. And then I'll talk about, okay, when you're touching a barbell or a dumbbell, how you kind of ramp things up. Not just your warm-up set for your first lift, but how you can kind of go about warming up for your whole entire routine. So yeah, hopefully you guys like this video. I'll probably post part 2 somewhere right here. And I'll see you guys there. Take care.